Hello, so I'm a couple of minutes early, but that shouldn't really matter. So yeah, the cool thing is, thank you everybody, there's loads of likes on here already. So whether or not that means YouTube will share it better with people, I don't know. I put the PMG on just because the shins is in the bag and I didn't want to get it all down and everything. But it's a similar looking mask. So I'll have the mask on for the start of the chat. Yeah, I'm alright, thanks. I actually was a slightly ill this morning. I'm hoping it's not ulcerative colitis flaring up again, but I'm not sure. We'll have to see if the symptoms start going away in a day or two. It's not. If they get worse or stay the same, then my UC might be flaring again. Yeah, hello to everybody. I thought I'd do another spooky theme stream, so you might be able to see I've got the funny lighting thing out. I'll change the colour of it if I want to. Move it purple for now. That sounds cool. I've not done many like airfix model things before, but sounds good. Uh, well, $6 for a pair isn't too expensive for particle filters. They should last you quite a long time. Um, then the webcam won't see me very well, Alex, because it will be too dark. No, I don't have any Dutch masks, unfortunately. Yeah, that's because it's the mask they model it on well. Yeah, vibrating noises. I think it got that mask got mentioned on another stream. It was just a Russian military mask. As I said, I won't wear the mask all the stream. I'll take it off in a minute. But... wonder if this mask can be turned inside out. Let's find out. Probably not. Q1. Thank you, Laser Point. There's the actual inside the mask for anybody that was wondering. Nothing particularly creepy happened. I've had some more weird nightmares. I had a very strange one last night. It was like a 2-part one. It started off where I was just like randomly lost in a village somewhere. And like, I was walking around trying to find my way. I think it was to a train station to get somewhere. But I couldn't find a train station, so it was a really weird nightmare. It was like, constantly wandering around looking for people to ask for directions. There was nobody around. So it was just all like rural farms and things like that. So that was weird. Then the second bit of the nightmare was really weird. I was like in some sort of place, and it was like a torture chamber, but I was the guy torturing this person, and it was like cutting into a guy's spine with like some sort of saw or something. It was very weird. No, I don't think I've heard of that alien. It might be in the Alien Encyclopedia I've got somewhere in this room. Actually, I might have put that on the bookshelf now, but... so yeah, I've got a spooky themed beer for today. I thought I'd just have it out the can because it's got like hauntingly good beer. So it's actually an appropriately themed one. So I'd rather drink it out of glass, to be honest, but I'll just have it out the can because it's relevant. Yeah, it was weird like that, Rich. Yeah, but quite often I have the thing where if I wake up and fall asleep again, it's a different dream. What's rarer is when I have the same dream continue. When I wake up and fall asleep again. That sounds cool, Jacob. Happy birthday. Or I don't know if your birthday is today or was recently. Don't know if I've heard about that one. Apparently, there's one the US has released some footage of recently that was like a UFO thing. I'm not even in an apartment at all. We'd normally call those flats over here, but no, I'm not in a flat. So, yeah, today it's been raining all day, and I mean literally raining all day, although there's been periods where for like 10 minutes it stops raining and then it starts again. I'm just going to check the weather report and see if tomorrow, later today, if there's meant to be any more rain. According to this, it could still be raining for the rest of the evening, but I think it's stopped now. Tomorrow's meant to be dry, that's good. No, it's pretty obvious I'm not going to be storming Area of 51, isn't it? No, I've already said I'm not a prepper. There is one like that, General. There's a version of the British Light Anti-Gas Respirator that has a thing there. But, yeah, this is meant to be a spooky stream, so ideally it'd be good if we could talk about creepy things rather than, just general gas mask stuff. I'm trying to think if there's been any good horror films I've watched recently. I've got Rawhead Rex and Fright Night to watch at some point this week. There's another film I keep meaning to watch and keep forgetting that's on Shudder. Let me check what it's called. That's very creepy, Jacob. Yeah, I mean, like you'd instantly say Lightning, wouldn't you? Dead Detectives. It's like a ghost horror thing, parody. But yeah, you'd immediately say Lightning, but not if it's that color. Very weird. Not Aurora Borealis kind of thing, was it? Yeah, it can do patriotic Brit. It's relevant to this stream, isn't it? I'd say Aiden, either my Shums or my Polish hospital mask, the SR1. I think it looks more like futuristic looking than scary, to be honest, that one. Yeah, I don't think we really get horror houses here, but I've been to one thing where they had like a person jump out at you in a costume in like kind of a museum exhibit kind of thing that was quite good, because it's kind of like part of the museum exhibit was on like folklore kind of thing, and then they had a guy dressed up in like a vampire kind of thing that jumped out. That was quite good. One up there, look, those. But yeah, I had a nightmare a couple of weeks ago. I already said to Mike about this, where I like stubbed my toe because in the nightmare I was getting attacked by like these cannibal people, in this sort of like cliff town thing. So I kicked this guy to kick him off the cliff when he was attacking me, and then I woke up because I kicked the wall really hard and really hurt my foot. Well, the thing is, if I did a top 10 scary gas masks one that was out of any of the masks that exist, not necessarily the ones I've got, then I'd put a very different ones on there. The only one on the list I don't own is the Mickey Mouse one. Was that in your house, Mike, or was that in Malk's? But yeah, shadow people are interesting. There's a lot of theories on them. Some are like that they're people in different dimensions that temporarily cross over, and then you can see them. Others that they're like time travelers, and then there's all like the demon and occult sort of stuff of them. Is that the second time you've seen a shadow person in your house then? Because you said there was one in the kitchen before, didn't you, where it ran at you or something? No, I don't know if I believe in demons. Never seen one. Yeah, I'm trying to think what the best X labs are. The one I like is obviously the first one from Shadow of Chernobyl you go in, where there's like the banging at the door and all that. So what do you reckon that is, Mike? Do you reckon that it's to do with the lighting in that area, or like the way the doors are laid out, or something like that? If you were going to come up with a logical explanation for it. Annoyingly, Lloyd, I was a bit ill today, but I'm hoping it goes away. It was just like really bad stomach aches and kind of cramps. And I'm hoping it's not ulcerative colitis related. I'm hoping it's just like I ate something that disagreed with me. I can see your one you just put, person. Yeah, there's lots of sleep paralysis things, isn't there? Like the hag or the demons or the shadow people. What do you mean, do not sat about sleep paralysis? Wow, I've already mentioned it now, haven't I? This is a spooky stream. That's the whole point of stuff like this. I've never had sleep paralysis, though. I've had things before where obviously you've laid on your arm or something in the night. That can be quite freaky. If you've rolled over, you get a dead arm because you've been asleep on your arm. You wake up and it's still like pitch black in your room, and then you can't feel your arm to move it, to like turn on a light or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. The thing is, Lloyd, there's sometimes things where I can eat food that I'm totally fine with, and then one time I can eat it and it just seems to upset my stomach for whatever reason. Yeah, I wonder if it's worth moving stuff around, like, to try and prevent that happening. But there's lots of logical reasons, isn't there? Stuff like that can happen. How long have I had this collection? Well, I started the channel in about 2012, and I had some of the stuff before then. But then, as the years have gone on, I've bought more and more stuff. Okay, so you're doing it like it's an ASMR thing, then, Elizabeth? Fair enough. What's exploding head syndrome then? Can you explain it in a sort of simple way? Oh, I mean, lots of horrific injuries look pretty creepy, but I feel sorry for people who've been obviously maimed in a way like that. But there's a really creepy thing. I've probably mentioned this before on spooky streams that I read about. And it's like a syndrome of a certain name, but it's really weird. It's like where you start hallucinating things, but it's not because you're going crazy. It's because you're going blind. And what happens is the brain, is it Charles Bonnet syndrome? Something like that it's called. I'm going to Google that. It's Charles Bonnet syndrome. Yeah, vivid, complex, reoccurring visual hallucinations, usually but not only in older adults with late to life vision loss. So basically what happens is you see things that aren't there, because not because your brain's going wrong, but just because you're seeing things that aren't there, in the sense that your brain is trying to make up the rest of the picture when it's got limited information. That's very strange, TGFT. Hopefully that stops for you, but yeah, it's very strange. Yeah, I've watched the old black and white one. I've watched the what's the one done by that German director? Werner Herzog, is it? I've watched his version as well. It's mostly filmed in the Netherlands, isn't it? His one's Nosferatu the Vampire, isn't it? But yeah, I've seen both. I've seen loads of the different versions of Dracula. Yeah, that sounds pretty horrible, person. Oh yeah, that's what it originally was, Nosferatu, because they took the Bram Stoker novel and changed the names, hoping they could get away with it. Yeah, Charles Bonnet syndrome sounds quite fascinating. I mean, it'd be freaky as fuck if you had it. But imagine that, like, you keep seeing people that aren't there because your vision's going. Your vision might see, like, a coat hanging on a hook, and then your brain restores that to an image of, like, a man in a coat just randomly stood in your house. Yeah, I think running out of toilet paper is a pretty freaky thing. Or if you go into a public toilet and they've got really, really cheap toilet paper that cuts your ass when you actually try and imagine being stuck in some sort of full body suit thing would be quite creepy. Like imagine if you got stuck in like a diver's suit or something like that. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of, Mike, the tracing paper toilet. Right, Hopkinsville Goblin. Let me look that up then. Looks sort of like a Disney thing, doesn't it? Yeah, very strange. Yeah, if you go on Google Image and type in Charles Bonnet syndrome, you get a few examples like where people have mocked up images of what it looks like. And some of them are really freaky. It's just, like where they've almost got a picture of a room. They've put like black spots in part of the image, where it's like obviously your vision's gone. And then they've put just like random stuff in the room that shouldn't be there. I don't know. I just find the idea of something like that where your brain starts inventing things that aren't there quite creepy. And that's creepy, William. No, the Russian sleep experiments are creepy pasta. No, I don't think it will. Yeah, imagine if you were stuck in the IP5 or in the rebreathers and you knew you couldn't get it off, but you knew so it wasn't like the instant thing. Because that's what I find creepy about some of those things, is where you know you're eventually going to die because you're going to run out of air or whatever, but there's nothing you can do about it, like cave diving. Cave diving is the one where I read people doing that and I think, what the fuck are you doing? Cave diving, for the people who don't know, is when it's like underwater diving, but also spelunking, where people go through really tight, pitch black caves underwater with diving gear on. And obviously, quite a lot of people die doing that because they get trapped or lost or whatever else and drown. No, what's that? I'll Google it. Humanoculus. Is it something to do with an eye? If it has oculus in it? No, it's just a thing with big hands. That's something to do with alchemy. Oh, I don't really believe in alchemy, but it sounds interesting. Yeah, when you've got the latency period from being exposed to acute radiation syndrome, where you know you'll be dead in a week to like 3 weeks or whatever, and your body's going to literally fall apart, but there's nothing you can do about it. So, like I've said before, if I knew I was going to die of something like acute radiation syndrome, I'd say to the doctor, just give me a lethal dose of morphine before I literally start to fall apart. You can't put links in the chat. Yeah, well, people in reality have suffocated to death in masks because often people put them on, think there's gas, they've not unplugged the filter or whatever properly, and then they think when they're choking that it's because of gas, so they keep the mask on. MK Ultra is very interesting, isn't it? I mean, it depends how deep down the rabbit hole of conspiracy you want to go, but a lot of the MK Ultra stuff is real. For the people that don't know, MK Ultra was the CIA kind of funded weird psyop stuff where they were doing like human experiments and things. In real life, people don't turn into ghouls, toast butter. What's Chernobyl 3828? Is that a particular documentary on it, or? 2011 Ukrainian documentary. I've probably watched that because I've watched most of the subtitled ones and things. What state are you in, Shot Zombie? You've probably said before, but I've forgotten. It kind of reminds me a bit, that mask, of Pennsylvania. The Zelensky kind of reminds me a bit of the Nosy Bonk mask, or sort of the Droog mask from A Clockwork Orange. Because it's not late in UK time, Jonas. Yeah, thanks, Mike. I did notice with this stream, the good thing was because it was a scheduled one, a lot of people had already liked it before I even came on. I might watch it for the comedy effect, Shot Zombie. You know, see how the CIA get blamed, but we'll have to see when it's available. The freakiest nightmares for me are ones where something happens in a nightmare. It seems so real, you're not sure if it's a nightmare or whatever till like a day after it's happened. But yeah, like where you have a nightmare where like somebody maybe you know dies, but everything in the nightmare seems real. Like it's in real places, you know, and stuff like that. And then when you wake up, it takes you ages to realize it was a nightmare because it wasn't like, you know, such a fantasy based thing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I must have died loads of times in dreams, but I just can't remember a lot of the times. Because the dreams I remember are always just the really weird ones. But I get lots of nightmares which are just like very generic things where, you know, like I wouldn't even class them as nightmares. It's just in the sense like it's like a day-to-day thing happening and then maybe something goes a bit wrong. But then the ones I remember is just where really weird stuff happens. When I had braces for quite a while, they kept breaking. I didn't like going to the orthodontist because the guy was a bit of a prick. But yeah, I'm glad I don't have braces anymore. My teeth are relatively straight. They used to be like, all over the place when I was a little kid. But no, the reason I get so many nightmares is I'm on various medications for chronic illness that give you nightmares. It's like one of the side effects of medication. Yeah, I will do at some point, Patriotic Brit, but I'm going to have to wait till I've had quite a few interesting ones to compile them all into one video. Because even though, like I said, I have nightmares nearly every night, a lot of the time I just can't remember the nightmares, or they're just not very interesting to put into a video. Yeah, I had this weird one with cannibals recently, General. That's the one where I said I kicked the wall, but it was where it was almost a bit like Lovecraft's A Shadow over Innsmouth. It was like I was in this weird coastal town kind of place. It was built onto a cliff, and there was, like the kind of like weird cult of like deformed cannibal sort of people. And then it ended where I was fighting with one on the top of a cliff when he tried to grab me, and then it ended because I kicked him, and then he fell off the cliff. I think I just grabbed onto the cliff as I was kicking him, and then I woke up because I kicked my wall really hard. Well, I'm sure I've done lots of things in dreams where, like I say, like where I just kick the wall because I kicked in the dream. I'm sure there's lots of stuff like that with moving your arms and stuff like that. Definitely not one with a hose, Superman, because the hose could be slashed, and then if the hose is slashed, obviously it compromises the mask. So it'd have to be one with a filter on the mask. I'd say probably like one of the big panoramic lens ones, like maybe my Spaciani, just because it's quite durable. The front's made of polycarbonate, and you get a good field of view. That sounds pretty creepy, Laser. I don't know if I've ever had many dreams where I've been being stabbed and things like that. The thing is, I probably have. It's just obviously I can't remember them. I've had a couple of dreams where I've realised they're dreams and I was able to start controlling them, but the majority no. In the most of my dreams, at the point I realise I'm dreaming, that's when I wake up. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me, but as I said, like I was saying, most of the more interesting dreams are the ones I remember. I don't believe that person. I reckon your brain can. I've had lots of nightmares where I've seen my hands or feet or other people's hands or feet in them and they look normal. Yeah, I'll do a live stream tomorrow. Not sure on the time yet. Yeah, like we were saying earlier in thing, it might have been before you're on Shot Zombie. I've never had sleep paralysis, but there's been lots of times I've rolled over in my sleep. I've essentially crushed my arm. Then you wake up, it's pitch black. You can't feel your arm, and you panic a bit because you're like, "What's happened?" And you can't turn on a torch or the light because you can't feel anything. Well, like I said, I'm personally not going to believe it because I've had dreams where people's hands look normal. Forgotten Weapons is the channel I mostly watch on all like old gun sort of stuff. That's very weird, RR. Well, at least it's a nice compact pistol shot on me. Yeah, but I've had nightmares before I was on medication and people had hands and feet in those. I sometimes get deja vu when I'm at like work situations where somebody says things and you think they've said it before and they've not. The one thing though is like that Mandela effect thing. I get that sometimes, generally where I think a certain person's died years before they have. Um, so you know, like at one point you think somebody's dead, you look up, they're still alive, and then later on they do actually die, and then you go, "Oh, I thought that person died years ago." What you on about, Doom Com Bomb Ghost? Or as in, don't forget to like the stream kind of thing. Might do that at some point. There's an automatic description that copies and pastes onto all the streams. Yeah, that's the thing I like with these German coats. Yep, my ones. One of my strict arm jackets does, and my East German greatcoat both have Makarov like holsters on the breast pocket. eBay is not a scam, though. If you get scammed on eBay, you can get a refund. Right, see you, Maxie. Have a safe flight if you're flying anywhere. Yeah, 5 star. I remember that, the old YouTube system where you could rate a video between 1 and 5 stars, and now it's just like or dislike. And then I bet at some stage they'll remove the option for people to even dislike a video, so it's like Facebook where you can like something or just not like it. All right, see you, shot some random guy. All right, have a safe flight then, Maxie Hall. I'm surprised you're not Peach, RR, because you make comments like Peach does, but he's already on the stream. Certain modes of transportation. I think, well, when I was younger, this might sound like a really irrational fear. It wasn't a mode of transportation, but sometimes when you went around old shops like B&Qs and things like that, they'd have like these big lamps hanging from the ceiling. Not like fluorescent ones, but you know, big kind of like metal house lamps on really long kind of cords. Um, and I always had the fear that you'd be walking under one and then it would split and come down and like crush your head. Or saying that, actually, the closest I was afraid of transport was the London Underground when I was a kid, because I thought somebody would always like push you onto the tracks when you're like stood at a train station, or like you'd somehow get electrocuted, or you'd be trapped down there and there'd be a fire or something like that. Like regular trains don't bother me at all and things like that, but when I was a kid, the underground train stations always used to really bother me. That sounds interesting. I don't know tutorials. No, I don't know about that one, Breathing Seagull. I assume that was in Washington District of Columbia. Some people spotted a UFO, did they? I don't know, Shot Zombie. Let's have a Google and hope the Google result is accurate. Do respirators protect from radon? For radon exposure, no masks are commercially available. Let's have a read into radon and see how it actually works. It's a radioactive, colorless, odorless, tasteless, noble gas. Does it say what it is? Is it alpha, beta, or gamma? It says it emits alpha radiation. Okay, it does alpha and beta. by the look of what I can find on here. So I'd have thought though, then if you had a P3 filter, you would, with like a part, with like a full NBC filter, a lot of it would get caught in the filter. But I mean, if you had a rebreather on, or an air, like a scuba tank kind of thing, self-contained breathing apparatus, that would protect you from it, certainly. Anything you want that's not really political, agnostic, libertarian. So UFOs, aliens, ghosts, nightmares, whatever. A lot of people can't seem to stay on topic for spooky streams, but yeah, air tank would work fine, I imagine, because obviously you're breathing in air from the air tank, aren't you? Not trying to filter it. Sounds good, shots on me. Yes, that would be the safest way of doing it, wouldn't it? Because if you've got an air tank, you know for certain you're just breathing in air from the tank. Yeah, I'm a massive fan of horror films. John Carpenter's probably my favourite director. But I watch all sorts of horror films, good and bad ones. Yeah, that would be a good scam, wouldn't it, Mike? You dress up in a priest gown, and then when people have been shot, you go up to them and get money from them to just go and walk up to the next one. Well, the blob absorbs things from touching it, so I guess the blob, because you can't really destroy the blob other than freezing it, can you? Was it either freezing it or electrocuting it they did in the original? I can't remember. A bit of both. There's not many horror films I've seen, sadly, that scare me. The Legend of Hell House I still find quite creepy. Burnt Offerings is also quite creepy. I generally find like weird haunted house sort of haunting kind of films to be creepier than other films, just because it's sort of a thing you can't really come to grips with. What other films I find creepy that I've watched? The Kill List is quite creepy. I was chatting with Mike about that yesterday, but that's, I think, because it doesn't really start off as a horror film, so you're not really prepared for it. Even though I knew it was kind of a horror film when I went to watch it, I was still quite surprised at the direction it went. Probably VX Nerve Gas Riley. Definitely slow creeping horror, because things a jump scare can get you, but it doesn't leave any impression after that, does it? Now, I've not seen Frankenstein's Army, but I've seen all the Frankensteins of Peter Cushing in, or like the Hammer Frankenstein ones, even on which has Ralph Bates in as well. But I definitely like the Peter Cushing ones the most. I like the first Sinister when it was more about like the weird snuff films the guy found in the attic. But when they were like, oh, there's a demon that looks like he's from Slipknot in all the footage, that's when I kind of went, oh. I think that the actual films in Sinister, like the Super 8 films, are really creepy. But I find a lot of the other stuff in Sinister is quite wasted potentials. Now, I've not got any real interest in pissing about with scuba gear, to be honest, person. I've only seen it once, and that was years and years ago. I've got it on DVD. I might try rewatching it at some point. Most NBC suits, I don't think, come in all that many sizes. Oh, cheers, Laser Point. Yeah, I also get that, though, sometimes when I'm in bed at night and you hear a noise, and you can't work out if it's come from the house or whatever else. The weird ones as well is sometimes when I'm home alone, I hear what sounds like somebody opening and closing a door in the house. So I think, oh, my dad's back, or like my mum's back from somewhere. I go out to say hello to him, and then there's nobody in the house. You're like, what? because you clearly heard somebody open a door handle, open the door, and close it again. I mean, I know you can definitely get like almost audio hallucinations. But yeah, I've definitely had things before though where I've had headphones on and you think you hear a noise, don't you? And you can't work out if it's on the thing or that. Problem is, I struggle to sleep if I've got like loud things running. Although I'm a bit strange, I think if I've got a fan running, that's alright because it's more like a consistent ambient noise. The ambient noises I don't like as much, the ones that cut in and cut out because you don't really get used to them. The thing is, when people open and close car doors in the street, they sound very different because they're like metallic. The ones in the house, they're more like the wooden ones, and you hear the little spring thing in the doors because we've got those door handles, you pull down the retro ones, and it compresses a spring, and then when you put the handle up, it shoots back. So you definitely hear the proper thing. But yeah, the other one I've had as well is where, yeah, you think you hear somebody say your name, don't you? And then like you turn around, there's nobody there. I mean, I definitely think some of these could just be like audio hallucinations where your brain's bored and it invents things. But yeah, I have had a few things before which I really can't say how they happened, and it has weirded me out. Yeah, the thing is, I reckon if I had the right kind of white noise in the background, I reckon I could sleep easily. But it's finding something that's like a pleasant frequency, isn't it? Because there's some frequencies that can be like irritating. I'll Google that. Is that some sort of incredibly powerful narcotic? Oh, antihistamine. Oh, it's Benadryl, apparently. So I've literally got some right here. There you go. Doesn't help me sleep. No antihistamines I've ever tried have helped me sleep, even though I bought the, like really strong concentrated ones as sleeping tablet form. They never work for me. I've seen those before, but when I've generally seen them, they've been super expensive, so I've never bothered trying them. Like, they've been like £20 for a pack of like 10 or something. And I thought, wow, that is extortionate for tablets. Yeah, lots of antihistamines have a side effect of drowsiness. They just never seem to work on me. Yeah, 64 system. I was saying that in earlier in the stream. I'm going to do another one, but what I'm going to do with those nightmare anthology ones is wait till I've had enough interesting nightmares that I can jot them down for a video. Because quite often I'll just forget what the nightmares are as soon as I wake up. As far as I'm aware, most tablets in the UK have to be tested to say they contain what's meant to be in them. Right, I just write it in a text file. So if I wake up and I remember, sometimes I don't remember nightmares just after I wake up. Sometimes it's a couple of hours into the day and then I suddenly remember them. So as soon as I remember what they've been, then I write it down. But the problem is, like I was saying, some nightmares I just can't remember at all. No, it's very strange. We've had lots of foreigners come on. Okay, gas mask, you like my brain, do you? Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I've had any nightmares involving aliens. I'm trying to think now. So I've definitely had ones like serial killer kind of things and stuff like that, or ones where I'm just randomly lost in the middle of nowhere. Well, sleep paralysis sounds really creepy, but I've never had it. As I said earlier in the stream, the closest I've come to sleep paralysis is where I've fallen asleep on my side or something, woken up, my arm's gone dead or my leg's gone dead from like the weight being too much weight being on it. But I've never actually had sleep paralysis. You know, I've woken up and can't move and then hallucinate something. But I normally fall asleep facing the wall, so I wouldn't really see anything if I did. Weirdest nightmare. See, this is a really thing because I get so many bloody weird ones. I was saying earlier in the stream, I had a very strange one where part of it was I was in like some sort of cell and I was torturing a guy, and I was like cutting his back open or something, and like trying to sever his spinal cord with like a big axe or something. It was really freaky, or a big saw. And then there were people outside the cell, like looking through an observation window, like encouraging me to do it. It was really weird. No, I can't program at all. Yeah, fair enough. But to be honest, I think the main reason I sleep facing the wall is because if I sleep facing that wall, I'm sleeping on my left side. And if you're sleeping on your left side, you get less acid reflux stuff than if you sleep on your right side because of how your like gut is aligned. Yeah, it is hallucinations and sleep paralysis, unless somebody thinks it is actual demons or whatever. But as far as I'm aware, it's because you're not fully out of sleep, are you? So you've woken up enough that you can see your surroundings, like your eyes are open, but your brain is still kind of projecting nightmares into what you can see. It's like an augmented reality thing. I don't know, agnostic libertarian, I find that quite funny for some reason. From transsexual Transylvania. You won't be on Twitch tonight. Right, you're going to watch a Cronenberg film, are you? Have fun, Mike. Maybe I'll watch two films tonight then after this stream. I'll watch Raw Head Rex and I'll watch that Ghost Hunter movie. What do you mean by the headgear on it? The straps or what? I'll get around to watching John Wick at some point, no spoilers. Yeah, I've not seen Spider, all that one you're on about the other day with people crashing into things to get off. It sounded very strange. What Cronenberg movies have I seen? I've seen Sliver. Wait, is it Sliver it's called? The one with the people in the apartment building with like the sex parasite? Or is that Shivers? It's called. Is it Shivers? Slivers? I can't remember. Um, then there's Rabid. I've seen Rabid. I've seen Scanners. The Brood. Shivers, yeah, Shivers. Don't think I've seen Invaders from Mars, Slingshot Warrior. What, so the actual straps? You could try rubber glue or something, but it's vulcanized on them 65, so if it's completely torn, it's probably had it. Yeah, I like Cabin in the Woods. It's kind of a good, interesting horror film, isn't it? Oh no, not Waterworld. Bloody what's his name in it? The film that tanked his career. Kevin Costner. Yeah, I like Romero films, although my favourite's probably The Crazies, even though most people don't like that as much as the Dead trilogy. Oh, he's done more than 3 Dead films now, hasn't he? Because he did Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. Is it Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead, and then Survival of the Dead, was it? So he did 6 Dead films, didn't he? Oh, I've seen Videodrome, of course. I somehow forgot to mention Videodrome. Mike, what I've seen Videodrome. There's a Lee Enfield up the top and an L1A1 SLR, the British version of the FM file there. I actually quite like Diary of the Dead. Obviously didn't think it was as good as lots of his other films. I didn't think it was a bad film. The original Hills Have Eyes or the remake? I've not even seen the first Zombieland, in all honesty, Laser. It's got Woody Harrelson in, hasn't it, the original one, but I've never actually seen it. Might sound strange, it's just one of those films I never really... Yeah, Doomsday is good. I like how it's kind of a British Mad Max and sort of Escape from New York. Oh, is that a film called 2012? I don't think I've seen that if there's a film called 2012. It depends. I found the ones in the original Amityville horror really creepy, where the woman looks out the window and there's the 2 red eyes just out the window, and like the psycho kind of music starts playing. But in general, it depends. It really depends on the movie, I think. Yeah, I've seen The Mist and The Fog and the awful remake of The Fog. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. I've got Zombie Flesh Eaters on Blu-ray. I've also I've seen some other Fulci films. I've seen City of the Living Dead or whatever it's called, the one in like that little town. House by the Cemetery, The Beyond. I've probably seen some other Fulci ones as well. I just can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, the Balmer's faces, but in the pillows. Yeah, I've seen the stuff. What, Midnight, the Stars and You, whatever it's called. Get a copyright strike now. Oh, I've seen New York Ripper, yeah, where the guy does the weird duck noises. I've heard of Terrorvision, but I don't think I've seen it. Oh, that guy count. It looks a bit more dopey to me, that one. That's the radiation alarm, isn't it? Not a Geiger counter. No, I don't stream any movies. I've got quite a lot of DVDs. I've done a video on my Blu-ray collection. I've got way more DVDs, and there's too many to really include in the video properly. Yep, I've seen those. So, I Drink Your Blood's the one about, like, the weird hippies, isn't it? Where they put the rabid blood in the meat pies or whatever, and they all get rabies. And I Eat Your Skin is the one on that Voodoo Island, isn't it? Which was made in, like, 1971, but it's black and white. There's a very good Chernobyl TV series. There's the good Chernobyl surviving disaster thing that's like a one-off BBC episode. Yeah, I've seen Critters as well. Yeah, 28 Days Later is fantastic, but it's basically a sort of soft reboot of Day of the Triffids. But the original BBC 1980s Day of the Triffids series is really good. Yeah, I've seen Book of Eli and The Road and lots of others like that. Speaking of rabies, I bought The Mad Death on DVD and watched that not too long ago, which is an old BBC sort of depression thing, a bit like Fred's, but it was about rabies rather than nukes. No idea what that is, New Blue. You have to explain to us. Why are you watching Quarantine? You should be watching the Rec ones, the originals. I've seen a lot of Outbreak type movies. No, I don't think I've heard of that one person. Let me Google it. I've watched things like Ghost Ship and Death Ship. Oh, it's about a virus that wipes people out, is it? Oh, it's a Michael Bay thing, is it? Oh, don't know. Yeah, I've seen Contagion. I've seen loads of other films like that. Yeah, I really like Suspiria, Mr. Sutherland. I've seen a few of other Argento's films as well. Tenebrae I really like as well. Deep Red's alright. Bird with the Crystal Plumage is alright. What other one Argento films have I seen? I know I've seen more. Inferno I've seen. Suspiria is definitely my favourite Argento film. Yeah, I like The Bay, about the weird woodlice thing that come out of people. Spoiler. Oh, in Death Ship as well, there's bits where you can actually see the camera crew and everything. That sounds interesting, Mr. Sutherland. I've seen Troll 2, but I've not seen the original, even though Troll 2 is about goblins. What, you mean hydrophobia is in the actual thing people get when they get rabies, when they're scared of water? No, let me look into Cargo. I don't think I've ever seen footage of real people with rabies. Is that a film? Cargo. IMDb. What year was it? There's apparently a lot of films called Cargo. There's a 2017 drama horror sci-fi in Australia. What about a cargo spaceship? Let me go back to the chat. Oh yeah, that's the one with Martin Freeman in, yeah? Yeah, that was, I think, the first one that came up. Udo Kier was in Puppet Master The Littlest Reich, which I watched the other day. This isn't Monster V. Yeah, I've got Plague Inc. on Steam and my phone. Well, it's basically just a rip-off of Pandemic 2, isn't it? Yep, Ghost Ship beer. It's a pale ale with a really strong citrus taste. Outbreak, is that the one with Morgan Freeman in? With the monkey like Ebola kind of thing? Yeah, I've got that on DVD. A lot of these films, I just forget what the names are. That's interesting. I've got all the Planet of the Apes, the original ones, on Blu-ray, but I've not got round to watching all of them yet. Although Rise of the Planet of the Apes is one of the new ones, isn't it? But I like Beneath the Planet of the Apes, the original Planet of the Apes. Oh, so it's actually a TV series, is it, rather than the film? Yeah, that's the fun in Plague Inc., isn't it, giving it a weird name? It's not an energy drink, I know, I've seen people play Planet of the Apes, and apparently it's awful. I've not seen many World War One movies, to be honest. Well, that's completely down to opinion, Dominic, but I guess some of the late US masks from World War Two, although my favourite World War Two mask I own is to finish M39. Stanley Kubrick, isn't it, Paths of Glory, although I've never got around to seeing it. Yeah, I find the idea of real ghost ships quite scary. I mean, you get ghost ships, don't you, as in where all the crew have disappeared off the ship. But you also get ghost ships in the sense of there's just these abandoned ships that are still just floating around randomly on water currents. Yeah, I'll get around to watching Paths of Glory because I really like Stanley Kubrick films. Yeah, I've seen All Quiet on the Western Front, both versions of that. Well, I believe that firemen drive in fire trucks, yeah. I've seen Men Behind the Sun, Mr. Sutherland, because people were talking about that on one of the streams before. Because they cut up a real body in that, didn't they? I've not seen Cannibal Holocaust. If I did watch that, I'd probably watch the variant that has most of the real animal sort of killing taken out of it, just because I don't particularly want to see that if I'm watching a film for enjoyment reasons. I've seen Necromantic as well, which is a pretty extreme film, and Necromantic too. Not that I'd really recommend them, but they're a bit of an experience. A full face respirator, I guess, Woolham, with the filter suited for whatever kind of chemicals you're working with. Doctor Strangelove's probably my favourite Kubrick film. Is that the Indiana Jones one, The Trenches of Hell? I've seen the gas attack scene from that because that's on YouTube, where the guy's mask's broken. He's like, "My mask, my mask." Don't know where, don't know when. I got asked about Nosferatu earlier, and I've heard of Haxon, but I've never watched it. The 100's a TV series, and I've never watched it. I've heard of Possession, but I've never actually seen it, Mike. I've heard it's very good though, because I think 13 o'clock podcast are recommending it on a video. Like not one where, or it might have been Red Letter Media, but I think there was one where they were talking about Sam Neill in another film, and then they brought up the Possession, really recommending it. No, in Trenches of Hell, if I remember right, they have like GM30s or something, the Belgian troops, and some of the German troops have like the Yugoslavian copies of British Mark IV respirators. So yeah, definitely not the right nations or era for the masks. I've seen Friday the 13th Part 1, Part 2, Jason X, Freddy versus Jason. Oh, cool. I've watched quite a lot of Tales from the Crypt, but I don't think I've seen that one. Anyway, I'll probably finish the stream fairly soon, so thanks for all the donations, Laser. I really appreciate that. No, I've not seen Catch 22, I don't think. Is that about somebody being in a situation where whatever they do, they're screwed? To be honest, I don't like a lot of the really crazy kind of blaming certain people for, kind of conspiracy theories. The most gory film I've probably seen, I've seen Brain Dead, Peter Jackson's Brain Dead, that's one of them. Evil Aliens is also really gory as well. I've watched quite a lot of those unsolved mystery shows and Tales of the Unexpected. Not Tales of the Unexpected, that's the Roald Dahl thing, isn't it? Mysteries of the Unexplained, those sort of things. I've not actually seen Bird Box. I might watch it at some point. Cheers, AMX. There's a very weird one, isn't there, about the Soviets trying to breed half man, half apes, which is apparently a real thing. And also the Soviets doing those things where they cut dogs' heads off and then they resuscitated them after death. Alright, cheers, Patriotic Brett. I appreciate that. Alright, so it's Hardcore Henry, is it, tomorrow, Mike? Well, I've actually watched that last week, so I'll definitely be able to talk about that one. Yeah, I've seen the... is there 3 series of Man in the High Castle out, or was it 2? I've seen all the ones that are out. I think it's 3, isn't it? Pretty certain it was 3 series that have been out so far. I have got a Discord server, but it's for donators only. I'll have a look into it at some point. Anyway, it seems the trolls are now flocking to the stream, so now is probably quite a good time to end it anyway, because it means I don't have to keep blocking people, just as I'm wrapping up anyway. But thanks for all the donations, I appreciate it. $1 person, only $1. That's it. But anyway, I'll be off now. I'll be on a stream tomorrow, but I don't know the time yet. It'll just be a regular stream tomorrow. So see you then. Goodbye. Right. Night, everybody.